And that's when I was like, well, that's just not freaking fair. And that's when I decided to make Imogen and make her 45 and just have her kidnapped by the Fae and see what happened.
Fitz of Writing.
Good evening, everybody. This is Sean with Fitz of Writing on another author interview. Tonight we are going to be giving you guys it's a fantasy book, correct, Meredith?
Yeah, absolutely.
Then it is a fantasy story from Meredith R. Lyons, and she wanted to come out and talk about not only the first book, A Dagger of Lightning, but also her recently released second book, A Horn of Onyx. How are you doing tonight, Meredith?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing all right for a Sunday when I have to look forward to work on Monday, but
I know, the scaries.
yeah, I'm familiar with that certain level of doom. Yeah, but we release these on Wednesdays. Nobody cares about my Monday woes. But what they are here for is to hear about your fantasy stories that, from the synopsis that you sent me, is it not also involving some aliens?
So, strictly speaking, yes. We do go to a different planet. It's basically Fae in space, though. So we call them she, but my publisher was basically, they were like, they're not Fae enough. Can you give them another name? So I was like, okay, I'll call them she. That's Irish for Fae. And then we made them aliens, and I got to do what I wanted, which was I wanted a magical spaceship battle, and I wanted Fae in space. So yeah, there's a little bit of sci-fi in there, but it's magic. It's mostly fantasy.
Okay. I like that. I mean, is it referred, like, whatever magic that they use in the book, is it referred to as magic by the people using it, or
not.
is it?
I changed that too to make it more sci-fi. It's kroma with a K because science.
Okay.
Yeah, so their magic is kroma, but it behaves magically. It has its own system, as magic systems should. But yes, we're in space magic territory with kroma.
Good. I just heard a really low rumble or something there, but it went away, so I don't know what that was.
Oh,
but
it wasn't my cat.
Yeah, well, we're gonna get to the panther-sized cats as that you mentioned in your submission. But why don't we start everything off with you giving sort of like a quick elevator pitch, and then tell me about your main character and what's going on with her, and just as much of the story as you're comfortable sharing. At least we'll start Dagger of Lightning, and then we'll go into your recent release.
Yeah, absolutely. So Imogen is a 45-year-old, just normal Earth woman trying to live her life kind of the way society expects her to, not necessarily how she wants to be doing it. And then she is kidnapped by an alien prince who turns her into one of his people without her consent, says she's going to fall in love with him, she's going to develop superpowers, and she's going to help his country win this thousands-year-old war. And she's like, absolutely not. You kidnapped me. I co-signed none of this. And so she aligns with his younger brother, who we like, but she does start getting super powerful, and people do start taking notice of her, and kind of everyone wants a piece of her. So she has to decide what she wants and learn how to advocate for herself, or she is going to end up being a powerless tool in this country's war. I like to call it kind of like ACOTAR meets Guardians of the Galaxy. So there's a lot of humor in it. Imogen is a bit of a goofball.
Okay.
I did want a middle-aged heroine because, life doesn't stop when you turn 21. We can still have coming-of-age arcs in midlife and beyond. And I wanted someone to, I like to subvert fantasy tropes. So I wanted to kind of turn the abduction trope on its head and also see what happens if you take someone who's had some life experience and is settled in themselves, and then throw them into this completely fantasy place and see how she behaves. And it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I you don't see a whole lot of fantasies coming out nowadays where you have somebody who is by what you said in the interview submission, like middle-aged, already an
Mhm.
adult, but I agree, like there's still plenty. I don't know that anybody ever actually feels grown up. Um,
No.
so I mean, there's always something to learn, and that's probably like a level of fiction that could be better explored in a more modern sense.
Mhm.
And it sounds like that's what you're going after. When you said that the prince changes her into, and help me say this, a she.
Yes, Sidhe. It's
Okay.
Irish. But yeah, she. So she gets transformed, and so she does get to be immortal, which was another thing I wanted to play with. I was like, let's have her going through some perimenopause and feeling her body fall apart, and then she gets turned immortal so she can appreciate it. Unlike an 18-year-old who doesn't feel the mortality crushing their spine. So yeah, that was another fun thing for me. Is like, she's like, oh my God, I'm not even sore. Like, this is great.
Yeah, I take a little bit of that every once in a while. Okay, and you say that, so you tell me a little bit, because you wanted to call them Fae, and that's like sort of like a sci fantasy thing going on here.
Uh-huh.
And you said that your editor wanted you to change the name of them because they weren't Fae enough. In what ways are they
Yeah.
like the traditional Fae?
So they got the pointy ears, they got the magical powers. They're tricky and manipulative, but they're not. They can lie, which was their big sticking point. They're like, but they can lie, and I'm like, it's not. It doesn't mean they can't be Fae, but fine, fine. And I think they just I think they wanted something a little more. I think they wanted it firmly in the fantasy realm or firmly in the sci-fi realm, and I'm not good at sticking in lines.
Okay.
So I just edged it a little more sci-fi, changed the names up a little bit, and fantasy readers will still get it. Like I've got reviews that, oh, this is a great new interesting way to look at the Fae because they are. Or if people are just like, these are aliens, this is cool, then that's great too. You can go either way, which is kind of nice for me. But I got to do what I wanted,
Yeah.
which with just changing semantics, and that worked for me.
I mean, it does feel like you've got your feet planted firmly in both genres. E- Even if they aren't referring to it like their own magic as magic and its technology to them,
Right.
there's that whole saying about like magic is only magic to people who haven't seen the technology and the ins and outs of how it works yet and everything. It's still
Correct.
awe-inspiring. Um, a TV remote would be a magic wand to a caveman. So
Oh yeah, if we brought our phones into 50 years ago, people would be, you know, really
absolutely,
scared.
probably. the but so the brother, is he like not on the same side of this war as the prince that does the kidnapping, or is he just kind of trying to keep things
So
respectable?
the whole premise of these the she, when they go back to Earth, they go every 100 years
Hmm.
to find willing human partners to turn, because they discovered they used to live on Earth and then they separated, and they discovered they couldn't truly separate, or their lines die out if they mate with just pure she all the time.
Okay.
So every now and then they go back, they get some volunteers who want to leave for whatever reason, and they turn them and they bring them home. Well, Imogen didn't get a chance to consent, and that's a big no-no. And the prince, his name is Aloysius, he gets away with it because he's the prince, and everyone kind of knows he's just going to get slapped on the wrist. But the brother, Llewellyn, she calls him Wells, he wants her to have some say. And since he was kind of, it takes two to turn a person, he was kind of tricked into turning her with his brother, not knowing that she didn't know what was going on.
Uh,
So he's like, since this is partly my fault in this, I will offer her, she can stay with me, because they can't bring her back.
hmm.
She can't get turned back. She can't go back. Just to kind of ease the way for her. So he's more concerned about doing right by this person who's been wronged, and everyone kind of thinks Aloysius is a little delusional because he's going off this prophecy of this chosen one that not everyone believes in.
Okay.
But he's convinced she's it. She's going to be the key. And yeah.
Well, I'm not going to uh, dive too far into spoiler territory and ask whether or not he's right. I don't think you'd tell me. But how um, how much of this is all of the plot of the dagger or a dagger of lightning, and how much, like, what is the separating instance, if you can tell that much, or anything about it at all, between that divides Dagger of Lightning and Horn of Onyx, and what's the big thing that's going on in Horn of Onyx, or is it just a continuation?
So in Dagger of Lightning, there is a lot of Imogen getting her feet under her,
Okay.
and learning about this new world. But there's another set of she in a different country that split off from the she that Imogen lives with. And they believe that, humans should stay humans and just basically be treated as breeding cattle. And so they've kind of split. And they want the technology of Imogen's people, the Molnairians, to go back to Earth and grab humans whenever they want. They won't give it to them. So they start trying to kidnap the newly turned humans. And there's this friction. The king doesn't want to start a war, but the people are tired of living in fear and all this stuff. So there is, I don't want to spoil too much, but a bunch of stuff happens in Dagger. And then in Horn of Onyx, we are at war.
Okay.
And probably the best thing that happens is Imogen gets a battle unicorn. And he is a snooty asshole. And he's gorgeous and he knows it. And he's probably one of the most favorite characters I have ever written.
You said a unicorn?
A unicorn. They're bloodthirsty, so they only use them for battle.
Okay. And so with the action and everything, you want to describe what warfare looks like a little bit on this other planet, the She planet?
Yeah. So they've outlawed guns. They don't use guns. They're not allowed on their planet. They use swords. They use their kroma, and they have their own spacecraft. So they will use their magical spacecraft. But the Sephria, the place where the war is going to be taking place, is huge. So it's mostly a land war, and so they do use the unicorns. And the unicorns have their own powers, and they have to pick their riders because they're very willful and won't listen to just anyone. So they can wreak their own havoc, and they have their own little she tanks and like little catapults and things like that. So it's a little bit of a mixture of magic technology and just like old school like fantasy castle sword swinging.
Okay. I like the sound of that, and one of the reasons that I had to ask that question was just to dive into just a smidge of you right now early. You had mentioned that you were a two-time Golden Glove, help me out here, the karate?
Finalist. No, I've got a second degree black belt, a Savate. I've done a couple of Savate championships, and I've done the Golden Gloves twice.
Okay, so I'm assuming that kind of experience and being a second degree black belt, you probably know your way around a fight. So it probably helped you choreograph your fights. So do you go real in depth with your combat, like hand-to-hand stuff in the book, or do you zoom out?
I really love light writing fight scenes, and I do both. I think so. I teach a class on action scenes. I call it From Fighting to Forking, because the sex scenes are action scenes too. It's all choreography. It's all story. But you have to. So one of the things that I find when people who actually know what they're doing fighting, when they start trying to write it, they try to make it too granular. So you often have to. It's he punched him. That's where you start, and then you can go out from there. But if you get too granular on like weight shift and angles and stuff, then you get kind of lost in the details. So I do both. I do like to have like some moves where you see exactly what's happening, and then and then zoom out a little bit where you're feeling the emotion of the fight and the choreography of what's around. And it's different writing a one-on-one than you're on a unicorn fighting people who are around you, or you're in a big battle scene or whatever. And all of those are fun in different ways. So yeah, I've got the advantage of I was also a fight choreographer for theater, and then I taught cardio kickboxing. So telling stories with fights, whether you're fighting or not, and making you feel like you're fighting, is something that I had little experience under me before I started writing. So I do really enjoy the fight scenes.
Yeah, I personally appreciate that quite a bit. I was a black belt in Taekwondo when I was younger, and it helped me out with writing one-on-one fight scenes before I knew anything about writing. But it did help me kind of like see it and know what was and wasn't realistic. And
Yeah, and you know what it
it
feels
really
like to be
helps you.
punched in the face, so you can describe it.
Yeah. And it's that is the coolest feeling. And everybody should, I shouldn't say that. Not everybody should know what it feels like. But if you're gonna write about what it feels like, you probably ought to know. It's unusual. It
Yeah.
I think that kind of life experience and stuff, and you've had a crazy amount of stuff happen to you. It wasn't just kicks and punches, but you've had some
Yeah.
things thrown at you in your lifetime and everything. And how much of that has made its way into your writing? Like,
Um,
I
I
don't want to
feel
spoil
like
it
a
too
lot
early.
of things, I feel like a lot of things make themselves, not everything goes into every book,
Mm,
but I definitely believe in like farming your life for things. It's nice to get it out on the page sometimes, and it's also it adds authenticity if you've experienced it. For instance, for a small example, Imogen ends up suffering from laryngospasms in the book, and she finds out it's like, oh yeah, your all of your abilities were heightened, but also some of your handicaps were heightened too, like when you got turned.
okay.
And a laryngospasm is when your vocal cords spasm and cut off your airway, and there's nothing you can do about it. You just have to kind of suffocate for 90 seconds until they relax. And it's kind of terrifying. And I suffered from them when I was young. And it's not just terrifying for you; it's terrifying for the person who has to sit there watching you like breathe and not know what to do. But I thought that'll be a fun thing. Like whenever she's like, she pushes down her emotions. So whenever she does that too much, she gets a laryngospasm in her sleep. It kind of attacks her. But so yeah, that's an example of a not fun thing from my life that I farmed.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like that much fun. But I mean, obviously it's good to give your character the weaknesses and everything like that while they're going through what they're going through, and believable and relatable ones too. So that's probably helped with the writing and everything for her. Are there any other notable characters you want to tell everybody about that you think would draw them into the story?
Yeah, I do have one of people's favorites is Scylla, who ends up being she is a consensual turned human.
Okay.
She's 23, and she came with her partner Zoe. And you find out that two females can have a baby in this world, so that's the direction they're going in. But she's an example of what it should have been like,
Hmm.
and she becomes Imogen's friend. And she is what I like about Scylla is she is a girly girl. She likes dresses and she likes yoga, and she's blonde and sunny, and but she is strong in her own way. So Imogen is your stereotypical tank top wearing, sword wielding badass. But I wanted to have the opposite too. Like, you don't have to be that to be a strong girl. Scylla is a strong girl on her own. And it helps Imogen mentally survive this transition by offering up her friendship and her loyalty.
And kind of like an anchor point to back, like somebody who remembers where Imogen came from.
Yes.
I love the name Imogen.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
the record.
Oh, thanks. I like it too.
It's fun, and it just sounds like fire to me for some reason, and maybe that's why you picked it. But it makes me think of immolate. That's why. But so, how long has Dagger of Lightning been out?
I published a Dagger release April 1st of 24.
Okay.
And then Horn of Onyx released March 31st of 25. Yes. No, 26.
Okay.
So was Dagger released in 25, April 1st, 25. I'm sorry, my years are so bad. And then Horn of Onyx released March 31st, 26. And I'm aiming for the third book 27.
Okay. Is it like, did you have most of this written before you started working on getting it published? Or,
Yeah. I wrote when I got the idea for Dagger, this has never happened before, it's never happened again. I want to stress that this is not normal. I wrote the first draft in 28 days. I was doing nothing else other than working and sleeping. I was just obsessed. And so I went straight into book 2, but then kind of pulled myself back a little bit to kind of judge book 1. And then I had Ghost Tamer come out, so I was marketing that. So I knew what was going to happen, which is unusual for me for the whole thing. But book 1 went through several rewrites. You write something that fast and then it takes, you're going to have rewrites. So I got book 1 done. And then when I went to look at what I had done for book 2, I had to make a ton of changes. Just because, I was just blitzing through. So, and the same with book 3, I actually just went into what I had written before for book 3. And it's like, past Meredith, this was really great. I'm glad you did this, but I'm a better writer now and I'm having to rewrite everything you've done. And so it was great to have so much of it written, but because I grew so much as a writer in between, I will say that my advice would be to outline if you've got that bug, and then sell the first book, then start writing the second one, because the parts that I had not written yet flowed great and they're great. And I'm like, now I have to do so much more work editing my old stuff. It's very educational. It's really good, but I do kind of wonder if it would have been easier for me to just organically write it when I was ready, if that makes sense.
well, I mean, you had my vote as soon as you said that you would advise outlining. I have to. So I'm a big outliner. I'm a big proponent of outlining. It helps me stay organized with my stories and everything. And I need to know like what's going to happen. Are you planning on going past book 3, or are you just envisioning a trilogy here?
Trilogy for this chunk. Now, I've had a lot of people interested in a prequel. There's a grandmother that she is gone. She's been dead 16 years by the time Dagger starts, but she's a big part of the story. And because she from the other planet came to Earth anyway, and no one knew. So a lot of people really would love her story. I've got epigraphs at the top of each chapter by different characters that kind of, introduce what's going to happen in the chapter, but also give you an insight into those characters. And a lot of the epigraphs in Dagger are from Solange, her grandmother. And she's very sassy, and people are like, really want to see more of Solange. We would like to see her on the page. So maybe eventually I will do a prequel. I have a little idea for it. But right now I just want to get through. I want to get these 3 done. I've got other projects that I really want to play with too. So
Sure. What inspired you to do the epigraphs? I don't know that I've talked to anybody, maybe this season or last season, that's ever said that they do that at the start of their chapters. It's an interesting idea.
It started literally because I had a lot of betas who wanted more Solange. They wanted more of her. They wanted to know more about her, but I didn't want to do a bunch of flashbacks. I think flashbacks should be very, very intentional. And I think it gets confusing if you do too much flashbacks. Just write the book from back then. So I just started putting, and she was always giving Imogen advice. So I just started putting some of her little advice quotes at the top of each chapter. And then I also did some from, her grandfather and other people from Earth that she left behind. Okay. And so kind of give you a sense of like what she left, and also like, who these people were. And I honestly thought my editors would cut them for page length. And I was like, oh, I'm not married to these if, we want to get rid of them. And they were like, no, we really like these. And so now I've got epigraphs for book 2 too, because everyone really loves them. I was surprised, but originally it was just to give people more of a sense of a character who's very much in the hearts and minds of our on-page characters, but no longer exists in their world.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. I could see that catching on. Did you get that idea from any other particular writer? Have you seen that like while reading, or because I'm not familiar with
Uh,
that anywhere?
I don't know. I think I was just like, well, they want more of this person and I'm not doing flashbacks.
Right.
What if I do quotes? And I think it just kind of I remember that I wrote them all at a coffee shop one morning. I just
Wow.
sat down and just did all the epigraphs and sent it off to whoever I was going to have read it at the time.
Okay. Ah, I like that a lot. And I'm assuming that whatever is happening and whatever's being quoted, whatever information you're given, is somewhat pertinent, at least thematically,
Yes.
to the chapter. It's
Yeah.
almost like a sort of like misty preview.
Yeah.
That's cool. I wonder if I'll start seeing a little bit more of that. You had a great idea there. You said you had mentioned that you traditionally published Dagger of Lightning, but you did Horn of Onyx on your own. Was there a particular reason that you went that route?
Yeah, I'm going to try not to get too in the weeds with the publishing industry landscape unless you're into that. But so my first publisher, well, Camcat is my publisher of Ghost Tamer and A Dagger of Lightning.
Okay.
Our publisher died suddenly. She fell down the stairs at 56 years old, and this was her baby, her dream, and her heirs wanted nothing to do with it. So it went up to sale, and Baker and Taylor bought Camcat, and we thought, well, this is going to be great. Baker and Taylor's huge. They've been around for 100 years. They're, a huge distributor, a big powerhouse in the industry. This is going to be amazing. But it was weird and not amazing. And we thought maybe bumps in the road. And I had sent my sequel because Dagger ends on a cliffhanger.
Right.
My editor really wanted it. And it was months were going by. And I was like, is something going on? Like, am I waiting for someone to read it and they have to read book one? Like, what are we waiting for here? And she's like, just give me a little more time. They're not ready to discuss sequels yet. But just give me a little more time. I know it's taking so long. And it was like, I want to say 7 or 9 months.
Wow.
And I got rejected. No reason. No, nothing. And they're like, you can do what you want with it. And it was right before they sent me to Sidhe. And which was so weird because my Dagger was flying off shelves at Sidhe, and I was hanging out with one of their representatives, and she was like, I'm going to take this damaged one. Is that okay? Can you sign it for me? I've just been hearing you pitch it and I really want to read it. And I was like, absolutely. And I said, just between you and me, they rejected the sequel. And she said, why? It's doing so well, which no one had told me. I didn't know that I was almost selling out my print run. Anyway, a week or two later, Baker and Taylor went bankrupt. And suddenly things came to light. It's like, oh, they're not buying anything because they owed Random House something like $1.8 million or something like that. And so it disrupted, there was libraries that didn't get their orders. Like it disrupted the whole industry a little bit. And then Camcat went up for sale again. And I was like, well, I only have 2 books out. I can't break my readers' trust like this. And I have book 2, so I hired an editor. I hired the same designer that did Dagger. And I was like, I'm just going to put this out myself and just make it look as similar as possible and just see what I can do. And then we got bought by Marble Press, who owns Dagger now. And they were like, oh, send us book 2 again. And I was like, book 2 is out. I made it. And they're like, oh, sorry. So that's the reason. So book 2 and 3 are going to be mine. And we'll see what happens. I have another series that is same universe, different characters, more into the sci-fi realm. And I sent them that to look at. So we'll see what happens with that.
Okay.
But yeah.
Well, at least it didn't sound like there was anything too terribly shady. It's just while they were working out all their red tape and everything and all their legal mumbo jumbo, they just kind of had you pinned in limbo.
Right.
Which, yeah, you especially if you had the book ready, like locked and loaded and ready to go, that
Yeah,
I probably would have done the same thing too.
because I didn't. It was so uncertain at the time. It's like,
Hmm.
will someone buy us? And if they do, are they going to want sequels? So
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna. I know I'm just gonna go ahead and release it.
Well, yeah, and if the first one's doing good and it's flying off the shelf, you don't want to risk waiting even longer and then having,
Exactly.
the fire die out for it and everything
Right.
either.
And that was a big thing. Is like I was like, I want to keep going on this momentum. Like,
Hmm. Well,
so
okay. Are you planning on, like, if they pick up your side story with the different characters and whatnot, are they going to get a shot at book 3, or are you just planning on doing that the same as you did book
I'm
2?
planning. I'm probably gonna do book three the same as I did book two, only because there apparently there was a lot of apparently the handover was not smooth
Hmm.
from Baker and Taylor to Marble, so they are really dealing with a lot of mess,
Hmm.
and I don't know that they would be ready to get book three out when I want book three out.
Makes sense
Um,
to me.
they also haven't offered on it, so and and again, I'm sure they're wading through mess. They know I'm going to do it. They've told me when they're releasing my paperback, so I'm planning on timing that release at the same time. So we're in like conversation with each other.
Yeah.
um but yeah, so but they've just got a lot to sort out.
Gotcha. Well, that's just a nasty place to be stuck in. I would have been frustrated. Uh,
Yeah, it was frustrating, but I learned a lot.
True. The As far as, so while you're working on book 3, I love that your cat keeps jumping up. Mine's laying over there.
That's
She's
Ang.
she does not. Well, tell everybody about your cats, and do your cats make their way into your stories at all at any point or anything? I've talked to folks before who have beloved pets, and they do it. Usually somebody's proud of their cats when they say that they're panther sized.
Yeah. Yes, they do not in Dagger. I didn't want her to have any pets in Dagger because I couldn't bear to yank her away
Hmm.
from her pets. Like her fiance, her family, sure, but to yank her away from the pets, that would be horrible. And Prism the unicorn could not be called a pet. Ghost Tamer, my old cat Jake, shows up in Ghost Tamer. And then I am writing a book right now that I'm hoping to go on submission with this fall. And Aang is featured in that book as a little hellcat. Um,
Okay.
so yes, they do pop in. Cloud has not shown up one yet. He's my other cat. He's a little more aloof.
Well, the aloof cats don't typically care if you include them in your
No, he
literature.
doesn't mind.
They're pretty chill. I don't think I don't think Boots would give a crap if I ever put her in anything. She's perpetually unimpressed. So, uh, okay. Well, I wanted to kind of like drift in a little bit towards the writing portion, and I know that we've already kind of been there, at least for the end goal of or the end goal of writing a book and getting published. We've talked a little bit about that, but as far as like while you were writing, you said you wrote your first draft in 28 days. You speed wrote it. You didn't. It doesn't sound like you needed to outline it because you already kind of had it all in your head what you wanted to do, right?
Kind of. I am a pantser,
Mm.
which I've tried to outline before and it doesn't work for me. What works for me is to get started on the thing, and then as ideas start forming, I will write those in. So it's almost like an outline, but it's more like a messy paragraph of like, then this will happen in later, and then this will happen later, and this will happen later. But yeah, it mostly lives in my head. I'm like terrified in this. I'm sure you've seen all these things about these authors losing multi-million dollar deals because they're accused of using AI and they're trying to produce their drafts as like forensic evidence. I'm like, oh my God, I write a living draft.
Mm.
Like I would be screwed. But then I do have the Google Docs, I guess, version history that we could look through if we really wanted to. It's just insane.
Yeah.
But no, I tend to just write. If I'm making huge changes, then I will save to a new document and do version 2. But a lot of times I'm just doing things within the one document. And I've drifted more. I used to be total pantser, like no idea what was coming next. I've drifted more into kind of a plantser, I guess, the in between, where I need to have an idea of like the whole arc,
Yeah.
and a little bit of what's going to happen before I go into it. And to be fair, I think that makes the revision easier a little bit, because when I'm just writing, sometimes I have to look back and be like, okay, so this was fun, but how is this person changing from point A to point B? And how are they a different person from point A to point B? And where's the growth arc here? And in a series, especially, the whole series has to have an arc, and then each book has to have its own arc. So I'm honestly done with series for a little bit after this. I want to take a little break and write some standalones.
Yep. Standalones are fun. You're done when you're done.
And they're easy to sell.
Once you have a few titles down, I'm sure, when your name's a little recognizable. The question I was going to ask next was, like, as far as like what inspired you to, why Fae, and why, and I kind of goes back to story, but it is why you want to write about Fae and not some other creature, or just come up with something brand new all by yourself. And then, yeah, they got renamed to she, but you were naming them Fae. So was there like a specific inspiration?
I was, at the time of the lightning strike, I was experiencing the first major injury of my 40s, where it was kind of like, okay, this is probably gonna be with me for the rest of my mortal life in some aspect. And I was having to take time off of running. I was really angry and feeling my mortality and just disassociating with fantasy books. And so I was reading about a lot of Fae, and also really pissed because, like, why can't I get kidnapped by the Fae and given magical powers and turned immortal and get super healing and super speed? And I was like kind of grumpily asking myself these questions, and my brain went, well, you're too old. It only happens to 19-year-olds. And that's when I was like, well, that's just not freaking fair. And that's when I decided to make Imogen and make her 45 and just have her kidnapped by the Fae and see what happened. And that was the whole inspiration behind it. I was mad.
Gotcha. That's an excellent motivator. I love that, like, Fae shows up so much nowadays, and I just don't feel like, I feel like they took a really long break when everybody was I've talked to so many people who dabble in like Greek pantheon stuff, and other mythologies and whatnot, but Fae, when you get down into the nitty-gritty of them and what they kind of do and how tricksy they are and everything, they're a very interesting, like, species. It's just like one step sideways from human in a lot of ways, and you can make them as human or non-human as you want. And if you really delve into like some of the old Fae lore, then you got different species and breeds and like so many cool like monsters and curses that you can like use and pull from like Celtic mythology and stuff. It's a very deep well. So I think that's part of the reason they do get plucked out a lot, because there's just so much there to play with. And did that deep well and different breeds and ways of life within Fae kind of like help you write out the two warring factions of the she while you were writing the book? Like,
that actually came a little bit separately, because I had these two groups, and honestly, I'm a character first writer. So I do the characters and then I flesh everything out around them. And so I knew that I wanted these two groups to be not in cahoots, and I needed to find the why. And the treatment of the humans was the why. But then I kind of, as I dug into it, I got to expand it a little bit. And I actually kind of used just human nature, honestly. Like, these people don't believe this technology should be used in this way. But then these people used it, and now they're getting what these people want. So these people suddenly decide, no, actually, we want your technology, and you should give it to us.
Yeah.
Because we're suffering over here. So that actually just came very much out of just human stuff. The monsters and stuff I've used more in my more recent writings.
Gotcha.
But yeah, no, the she there, it's very much an echo of like things in humanity. You'll see that me venting about those things like subtly in the books if you're looking. Like, let's rail against misogyny, but also have fun.
Okay. Well, as long as you're having fun. Uh, the what about the book? And I guess I kind of am asking this point from a point of view of like the story more so than anything relative to the craft. What was the hardest part to write or at least conceptualize for you? And did it wind up being anybody's favorite part of the book?
Ooh, that's tough because this book just kind of flew by. I know there was one section where I had hinted at like some danger that never really materialized, and my editor was like, you know, you hinted at this, and then we never really see this. Like, can we put this in? And I was like, oh, I could just not hint at it. She's like, no, I want it. Like, find a way to put it in. And so I did kind of I had to think about that. And I do think it fixed a big saggy part in the early middle.
Okay.
Because I've got, you know, the great thing about yanking a human and putting them in a brand new thing is you get to learn about the world with them. So you've got Imogen like learning about her powers and learning about the world, and that's fun. But what she gave me was some added tension underneath, which I think drives the story a little more forward. So it's not just like you're like, oh, this is how this magic works, blah blah blah. I think it helped the story overall.
Good.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, but trying to make it, what would stress me out about that as a plotter would be working something in there that wasn't there beforehand, and
Right.
so if the story was already written and you had to create that from scratch, that would be a difficult part. But the tension is necessary to just keep the story exciting for the reader. So good on your editor.
Yeah.
Okay. I always ask everybody this question ever since Ryan. I first heard him ask it, and I really liked it. Would you say you're a big reader?
Yes.
What is it about
Absolutely.
modern fiction that bothers you the most? It can be a hot take.
Okay.
It should be a hot take.
So I am a little tired of all the toxic shadow daddies. Just in fantasy in particular, there's this thing, people have this obsession with like all these trigger warnings and like toxic relationships and slightly abusive, and yet they get together. It's huge right now. Or maybe it's just what I'm seeing, but I've been out there selling people and they're like, what trigger warnings are in these books? And I'm like, I don't know, there's an abduction, but it's okay. And they're like, nah, we want like, they want her to get with the abductor. And I'm just like, I'm so over it. Can we have like a nice, healthy relationship at some point? Like, I know there's got to be like drama getting there, but they could respect each other as people and not be abusive at all at any point. Like, maybe, like, wouldn't that be cool?
I do agree. I feel like that has kind of bled out from a lot of the like dark romance.
Yeah.
Not even fantasy, but the
To each
fantasized.
their own.
Yes.
It can be there. They can be there for people who want that. Like, the monster romances are there for people who want all the appendages. But like, just for it to be, I'm ready for it to go down a notch. Like, we can take it down a notch.
Yeah, I think it's on its if the universe is going to do the big rip or whatever and and contract at some point, then that will probably do the same and go back to where it came from to some degree. It doesn't need to be in every story. I agree. And Ryan and I have had talks about whether or not, you know, trigger warnings need to exist at all. And I know we're going to do an AOT and kind of discuss it at some point, but we're not sure. So
Yeah, I kind of go back and forth on that too. I read recently Trevor Noah's uh, autobiography,
mm,
and there was some cat death in there, and my friends had like recommended it to me, and I was like, you could have warned me about the cat killing, like in that section, and they were like, oh, I forgot about it. And am I okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Like I wish those images weren't in my head, um, but it's like how much like what if you start putting in trigger warnings for everything, like where does it stop? Does Trevor
right,
Noah need a violent cat death warning on his? Probably not. Um,
right. Yeah, and it's difficult ground to tread. I understand why people want them, and I but where does it stop is the best question to ask there, and who gets to decide. I think that's the
yeah,
reason that we find it something that there's marrow there to chew on. I think. Um, so but you don't like the dark shadow daddies.
I'm just tired of them. I mean, they can just take a breather. Take a breather.
Right. Yeah, not everybody has to be abusive. Not everybody's mean.
Yeah.
The is there I just picked up earlier you said that Imogen was taken from her fiance. Is there any romance in the new world to speak of since she cannot go
Oh
home?
yeah. Oh yeah. So she there's a forbidden love situation. There's a fated mate situation. Fated mates is my favorite trope, and the romance relationship is one of the things that the readers have loved the most because it is a romance. It's built on respect, and they do fight, but they handle it maturely. They will step out of line and then they apologize. And there's even more of that in book two. And so I've gotten a lot of compliments on that relationship, which makes me really happy.
Good.
Because my second editor that I got for book two, she wanted to push it more in the dark romance area. And I was like, my readers would absolutely hate this. And I stayed firm on what I wanted. And which is great because I got to do that because I was producing the book. And I've gotten positive feedback across the board so far. So that makes me very happy.
Well, I'm definitely glad to hear that. And you said that you're hoping for the third installment to come out. Are we shooting for like first half of next year or?
We're shooting for March, late March, early April.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Right at the beginning of summer, or at least spring.
Yeah.
Uh, that sounds like fun. You're not going to give me a title for it yet, are you?
Right now it's called A Wing of Silver.
Okay. I'm legitimate. Color me shocked. I thought you were going to tell me to just have you back on. Well, I do think
It
we
might
are.
change.
It might.
Never
Okay.
know.
Maybe.
But I'm not foreseeing it changing yet right now, unless I get some incredible feedback.
Okay. And this will wrap up Imogen's story, but it sounds like you're building yourself a little universe here that you can kind of build, or you can go backwards in time, and you can even
Yeah.
be in the same time frame but with different characters. So it sounds like you've made a world that you're pretty proud of and that people are enjoying reading. It. Oh, well, I mean, you do want to have your one-offs and everything, but your one-offs that you want to make after this, these are different projects, right? Other things people
Different
can watch out for.
projects.
Give me we are getting a little bit close to the general time frame that we like to do this, but you had mentioned Ghost Hammer.
Ghost Tamer. Ghost Tamer. So like
Ghost
a lion
Tamer.
tamer, but for ghosts.
Yeah, you have mentioned it a couple of times, but we didn't really get into that one. And but that's a one-off, isn't it?
That's a one-off. It had, the door was kind of kicked open in case I wanted to do more, but I have not so far. And it's won a couple of awards. It's people really like it. It's a Halloweeny book because of the ghosts, set in modern day Chicago in the winter, because that's the worst place to be in the world is Chicago in February. I wanted some suffering, and it's
All right.
it's a fun book. Aspiring comedian, she's riding the L back from an open mic with her best friend. It flies off the rails, killing everyone except her, and now she can see ghosts. One of them says he's been with her all her life, kind of trying to protect her. Another one is now trying to destroy her. and take her soul. There's a cat in the book. Nothing bad happens to the cat.
There's your warning, everybody.
Yes.
So you said you've seen a ghost. That was one of your interesting things about
Yeah.
me. So did that have something to do with the ghost tamer?
No, not initially, but crazy things. I don't want to take up too much time, but as I delved into and told the story, my sister reminded me of something in my past that I had repressed, that I do think that maybe that ghost did make it into the story, subconsciously.
Well, there you have that. I'm assuming that has nothing to do with your trilogy. It predates it, right?
It predates it, yeah.
Your other one shoots, are they going to also just kind of be in their own little world that doesn't have anything to do with
I have a series that I'm working on now that is interconnected standalones. So a different magical world, different characters that may like appear in the other books, but you don't have to read them in any particular order, and they could be sold separately and all of that stuff. Because I kind of, once I build a world, I want to play in it for a little bit, but it is doing the series. Oof, it's a thing.
Yeah, I feel you there. I am working on one right now, and it's been years, and I'm still trying to figure out how to make it how I like it. So hopefully later on this year, I will have some time to get that lined out and then start writing on it. But well, I'm gonna start bringing this to a close. If somebody wants to follow you on your author's journey and keep an eye out for when you do release potentially A Wing of Silver, where are the best places where you're the most active and a good place to follow you?
So I'm most active on Instagram, and I'm at Meredith R Lyons on all the socials. I do have a website, meredithraelyons.com. RAE is my middle name. And I do have a newsletter. My newsletter only comes out once a month because I don't like to spam people, and I don't have time to write it more than that anyway. And I give away a book every month.
There you go, everybody. You get one for free, at least a chance at it. Okay, and do you have a preferred place that you'd like people to go and get copies of your books from right now? You said earlier, before we started recording, that right now Dagger of Lightning's out of print, but it's coming
right now,
back.
we sold out. Yeah, we've sold everything out, but you can still pre-order it, I believe. Definitely on Amazon, probably Barnes & Noble. Really, it's available anywhere. It's just some bookstores may have a hard time ordering it until November when the new stock comes through.
Okay.
Horn of Onyx you can get anywhere. And Dagger's ebooks are available anywhere right now if you just like, oh, I want to start with the ebook and see where we go. So that is still available, and the audio.
Perfect. So you can get those ebooks anywhere. And then, but can people get a copy of your books at least ordered or pre-ordered from your website? Yes.
My website, no. My website will have links of where to go. I don't have my own shop set up yet, something for the future. But CamCat's website, they're on there. And pretty much if you just Google A Dagger of Lightning and you can buy it where you wish. Your bookstore may have some of the bookstores around here do have some still, and your bookstore may be able to order it. I just don't know when that's going to go back online. It's one of those back office things that I'm not entirely privy to, and we missed normally they wouldn't let a print run out, but because of the gap between publishers,
right,
it's just kind of where it fell.
That makes sense. They'll iron that out though, and then you can all get your copies of whichever one or the third one, and all three, the box set.
And if you're really desperate for one, just message me on my website, and I can work something out and send you one of the ones I have here.
Perfect. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on. It was interesting to talk to you, and it was interesting to talk about something that was not 30s or 20s or YA or anything like that. It's an interesting perspective to write a book from, and an interesting reason why. I like that quite a bit. Is there anything that you want to say to everybody before we roll out of here?
Keep reading, keep writing.
Perfect. And like and subscribe to Fitz of Writing. If there's a question that you have for Meredith that I didn't ask, put it down in the comments. She will keep an eye out and answer you for a little while at least, until she gets pulled away to do more writing. or more work. But yeah, all that other, YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, help get us into the algorithm so more people can put their eyes on these authors' books. On that note, we're going to fade to black.